Who approaches you to do the Academy Awards?
The guy, Gil Cates, who's the producer. You do not campaign for it. It is one of those things that if enough people turn it down, they will get to you.
That is true because Billy Crystal always somehow leaks out that they did ask him and he turned it down.
I'm sure they did. Look, I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. I don't think anybody would think like, hey, how about the guy who's done it 9 times and kills every time? Or maybe we'll go with the guy from Channel 138.
Seeing what it did to Letterman, and in my opinion...
It didn't do anything to Letterman. If you watch the Letterman thing, he was great. It was hilarious.
Have you studied the tapes of you have?
Yeah.
Where does that occur?
I get on CDs, on DVDs, whatever, and I watch
Gil Cates sends those to you?
That's right. And I watch Carson, Letterman, Steve Martin, Billy, and Chris.
Well, Steve Martin was good.
Steve Martin was great.
Great.
Yeah. Great joke, solid. The thing about Steve Martin, though, is he carries himself with, like, such an air of dignity that I know I can't pull that off. Like, what you do is you kind of watch it to give yourself a sense of, it's like a GPS. It gives you a sense of the area of where you're going, like turn left here. But it doesn't, you can't exactly follow it.
And do you sit there and study tape?
I don't study it in the sense
Who is the worst?
But I looked at one of the group shows and I felt like that just didn't work.
It didn't work at all.
That just didn't work because you'd go through so many different vibes and each guy was trying to put his
spin on
sort of weird spin on it, and you just felt like this is really disjointed. And the show's going to be disjointed anyway because what you don't realize is they're producing the Oscars and you're producing your stuff. And you sort of bring it in there, and they insert it into various places.
We used to have Robert Wool on this show.
Yeah.
He came in, and he said that he would be the guy who stands on the side of the stage and feed Billy Crystal jokes.
Right.
You got to have a couple of those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to take some of your guys from
I'm going to take some of my guys.
Show.
Here's the thing you have to remember about
guys
that.
From The Daily Show?
Yeah, a couple guys from that, and then a couple of guys that I know in L.A.
And they will sit there and watch the show
like
as it goes along?
Yeah, there's like a little tent set up next to the stage.
And how will they feed you the lines? Will they?
Well, no, you go back and fight. It's not like they make you stand out on stage the whole time.
Right, you go back and then you'll have a conversation with them and they'll say blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, what about this? What about that? We'll be watching the show, and then we'll... Like you would do watching the Oscars. You sit there and throw lines at the thing, and then you'd come up with something.
And so you will sit there. You will. Some of the stuff will be ad lib. Some of it will be written by other guys.
Right.
And then when
you try and write as much of it beforehand. You try and imagine what'll happen and write a bunch of lines for each sort of scenario.
Are you concerned about the reviews the next day?
The whole deal for me is not to get caught up in this idea that you can reinvent something. And you've got a 6-minute, 7-minute monologue at the top of an award show that's in its 78th year.
But I saw a weird kind of thing in the press, a weird type of pressure that they put on the host. They said, gee, when Johnny Carson hosted, he had a 52 share. When Steve Martin hosted, he had a 54 share. Do you feel a pressure?
No.
I
am very comfortable with the 0.2 share that I have.
Anything
you know what I mean?
above
like for
that
me,
will be a win for you.
Yeah, this is the largest stage by 100 times that I've ever been on. So
it's a big gig.
Yeah, it's a big gig, but it's also, I gotta say, I'm really not. I'm sure that it'll be when I get out there, but because the truth of the matter is, I have a day job that is relentless, as the same type thing here.
You don't have time to be nervous.
You don't have time to be nervous. And the other part of it is, I don't buy into the fact that the Oscars it's an award show. And I'm the most peripheral thing about it. I'm the one guy there who hasn't done shit.